Kamala Harris at the debate, taking control, the visuals, the atmosphere. It all showed Trump upset and unmoored. He was inaccurate, sometimes unhinged. And the collective result, which is where we start the program tonight, is a display where Harris put Trump on defense. That's the Washington Post headline. The reality was palpable. The split screens that often contrasted Trump's honestly seething anger with Harris's more composed approach. The smiles, her rejoinders. No candidate wants to be on defense at a debate, but especially not Trump, a politician who staked his whole career on his supposed version of dominance, of going on offense. That's more about what Trump is, according to his followers, what they say they like about him, than any particular policy or promise. So this was uncomfortable turf for him, and people saw it live. We can tell you tonight, 67 million people watching, a higher number, for example, than the Biden-Trump debate. What happened last night matters because it reached so many more voters than any other political event this year, more than the conventions or President Biden's big address announcing his exit. And what is happening today, we're seeing, is being burned into the public imagination. The idea, the view, the conclusion that Harris won, and winning builds momentum. And people famously ditch losers. One day out, I can show you the Trump loss is on Times cover, branding him in trouble. The reviews have been rolling in, and broad mainstream coverage has basically said Harris bested Trump, and he was off balance and out of control.
Pick your adjective. I would go with fiery to begin.
You had one candidate that was completely unhinged, just completely off his rocker.
Kamala Harris pitched a shutout.
I spoke with one Republican who called former President Trump wild and uncontrolled.
Vice President Harris had a plan. She stuck to her plan.
Clearly, Vice President Harris kicked some butt.
I've never seen a starker contrast in presentation from two candidates in any debate, in any type of contest, in any political race.
That's the interpretation. Here's what they were interpreting.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. People start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. The people on television say my dog was taken and used for food.
Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris.
They say you're a disgrace. You are a disgrace. It is well known that he admires dictators.
Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men. They call him a strong man. I know Putin very well.
A dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all. At all, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically.
I didn't detect the sarcasm.
Clearly, he is having a very difficult time processing that.
Harris set the tone from the start. In a moment that might be in the history books, we'll show you Trump was going straight for his lectern, apparently trying to avoid the traditional handshake that starts it. And you see she crossed over into his area, forcing him into the handshake. She did that, and Trump found himself in a defensive crouch across much of the night, as the Times reports, relitigating his record rather than picking apart Harris's. And you might see that coverage and have watched the debate and thought, yeah, of course, and he has a lot to defend. But remember, that's not automatic. Harris is still in the incumbent administration. And Trump has previously turned many debates and other TV moments into attacks on his rivals. It is a function of how she performed, and perhaps also where we are now, having dealt with Trump for so long, that he wasn't able to pull off those tricks last night, even as he did steal or take more of the talk time. That same theme of defense was blasted in headlines in swing states. Here's Nevada's Las Vegas Sun. You can see Harris puts Trump on defense. National papers reported the same. Harris knocking him off course. Trump in the spotlight in the worst way. Now, those are reports and accounts. There were also other indications about Trump's poor performance from him. In contrast to the Biden debate, which we all lived through recently, Donald Trump got off the stage and began complaining about the ABC moderators, complaining the network should have its whole license revoked, which is not something you say when you are winning. If you thought you won or did very well, you would want to buck up the debate, not discredit it. And then there's the odd but very Americana tradition of the spin rooms. We've shown you here some file footage from back in the day. I'm sure you're familiar with the custom. The campaign staff and the allies go into these so-called spin rooms, and you say your side won no matter what. It's kind of an odd tradition. Well, Trump was actually the first debate participant to ever drop in on one of those spin rooms himself back in 2016, but he hadn't done it since then until last night. The Post reporting Donald Trump showed up in the spin room after the debate, a rarity, an obvious sign of his need to try to make the case to reporters that he had failed to make on the debate stage. You can see Trump in last night's spin room. Again, this is unusual, hasn't happened in a long time. And that same Post article, as you look at this visual, I'll tell you, said Trump may have recognized he fell short, and he tried to basically tell a much smaller audience in that room something different than what a much larger audience just saw on the stage, that he was on defense, that he lost the night. Now, Trump's aides, they did the spinning, and some of his allies would also spin. Again, some of these people are literally paid to say he won. But I want to show you something really interesting here. Even his own allies conceding it was a bad night for Trump. Senator Lindsey Graham said as much. Conservative commentators who might have a bit more daylight between their careers and the future of Trumpism went further. These are damning statements you're about to hear. I'll show them to you in a second. The big picture, the consensus, is not only that Harris won the debate, but that she won it at this critical time. That's the best thing a candidate can aim for in any debate, and some years we know there are many and they all happen. But when you win the only debate scheduled right now between today and the rest of the election, well, you have a crucial edge. Her allies, though, at the same time, amidst all of this, are reiterating that nothing last night tells you who will win the election. Now, as for the video I promised you, we've got these Republican lawmakers from Fox to voter panels admitting, conceding, saying Trump had a bad night or lost. Fox's sister publication, the Wall Street Journal, published a piece today saying Harris clearly won the debate. And now, I want to bring you a little beat video special. We've pulled together, if you were watching on this channel or any other single channel, you might not have seen this, but we've made it for you. Some of the Republican and conservative voices that have been conceding how badly Trump did. Much of this presented to Fox and conservative viewers.
Make no mistake about it. Trump had a bad night.
Whoever did debate prep for Donald Trump should be fired.
This was pretty much her night.
You're saying she had a good night?
I'm saying she certainly did.
Talk about migrants eating dogs and cats. I mean, that's something Saturday Night Live would do.
He was awful tonight. She, on the other hand, was very well prepared.
He was terrible tonight. Former President Trump did take a lot of the bait that she threw out.
He took all the bait and none of the opportunities. She pivoted better.
He rose to the bait repeatedly when she baited him.
She baited a former president of the United States to chase every rabbit down every hole.
He was childish. He was creepy. He was cringy.
And we heard so many of the old grievances that we'd long thought that Trump had learned were not winners politically.
He was wholly unprepared.
Vice President Harris was clearly well prepared, practiced on the offensive much of the night.
He went down a few cat and dog holes rather than rabbit holes tonight.
I guess there are avenues worse than rabbit holes. And even viewers who went to hear some alternative explanation of what happened on Fox ended up hearing that.